This music's going to make me want to dance. Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am Dr. April Schulte, and I am an acupuncturist, a doctor of acupuncture and Oriental medicine. And I'm so glad to be here and want to thank you right off for making me comfortable. This music, though, I'm not kidding, it's coming. So I wanted to take this opportunity to help all of you take the opportunity to look within. And if you don't mind, see if you can find this handout at your table. It's a yin-yang handout. You're going to have to share. Maybe share with your neighbors. And while you find that, I'll tell you a little bit more about me. As a doctor of acupuncture and Oriental medicine and a business owner, I'm also a mom. I have 15-year-old twins. Who here is a mom? Oh, thank you. Okay. A lot of us are mothers. Anyone aspiring to be a mom? Okay, great. So what I'd like you to do is look at this chart. This is going to help you sort of become attuned to what we're going to discuss today. This yin-yang symbol, we're all pretty familiar with this. We've seen it. It's been trending off and on throughout the years. The yin represents female energy. It is also nourishing, restoring, cooling. The energy moves downward. It's the dark. It's represented by the darkness in the 24-hour cycle. It represents rest and rejuvenation, wintertime, and physiologically our body fluids. So think things like synovial fluid, things estrogen does in the body. Think about the myelin sheath that surrounds the nerves. And then contrasting with that is the yang energy. Yang is male, it's functional, it has a lot of activity associated with it, it's warming, it moves upward, it's represented by the daytime or light, it's activity, as I mentioned, it's summertime, and inside of our bodies, physiologically, it relates to what we call qi. Qi is our body's energy that circulates throughout the body, and we're going to be working with that energy today one-on-one. So that's going to be really fun. What I'd like you to do, if you don't mind now, is just take a deep breath. Let's all just take a nice big deep breath together. And exhale, relax your shoulders. And let's take a moment to reflect on where in your body do you take time to recognize the yin aspect of your life? Where do you find time to rest and restore? Where is that? Is it out in nature? Is that home in your living room? Where do you find time? Is it in a bath? Just take a moment to feel where you might, or think about where you might experience cultivating yin. Also, maybe look inside your body and think and kind of feel, where might I need to maybe feel more yin energy in my life? Do you feel fatigue? Do you feel dryness? Burnout? Do you think that you might have trouble resting? Is it challenging for you to sit and just relax and enjoy the sunshine coming in through the window? Do you feel like you always need to be going? That's a sign of yin deficiency. And now let's contrast with that and think about the yang side of life, the yang aspects of yourself. Where and when do you feel like you are most capable? Where do you feel like you feel energized? Do you always feel like you are moving to be performing, pushing yourself, producing? Certainly in the business world, we're used to doing that, right? Signs of having too much yang energy might be stress, feeling a lot of stress in the body, feeling too much tension, maybe those really tight shoulders. Hypertension can come about from feeling too much yang energy. So can irritability or anger. And just in general, having trouble to slow down, similar to having yin deficiency, actually. So again, one more thing I'd like you to do before I get going with my slide presentation is just take a moment, even close your eyes, and consider, where do you feel tension in your body right now? It could be in your legs, your feet, your lower abdomen, in your stomach, in your chest, maybe in your head. Just take a moment and kind of observe your physiological body, your mental emotional state. And then keep that in mind as we move forward through my presentation, because as a doctor of acupuncture and Oriental medicine, I am so excited to show you how Chinese medicine can show you that your symptoms are not random. They are there to serve as guiding stones and as cues for yourself to learn how to listen to your body so that you can move forward in business and in your personal life in the utmost of health, okay? And I also wanted to share a personal story. I thought, what is a good example of how I have, as a business owner, as a doctor, as a mother, ignored the symptoms my body was telling me? I thought it would be good to let you know that indeed I did go through a time in my life where I was not feeling well, and I didn't know I wasn't feeling well. And that's when my children, they were probably around 8 or 9 years old. And I was managing my team, and I couldn't do anything without a great team of people around me, by the way. So I encourage developing. Today, I want to give extra special thanks to Esme, who's working with me now. She's in the back. Thank you, Esme. I'm so grateful. And Joel is here. He's part of my team as well. And so I was managing a team, managing my young children, and wasn't sleeping well. Anyone else have problems sleeping? Yes. And so I was also losing weight. And I wasn't really trying to lose weight, but I was losing weight. And I thought, well, I am trying to eat more vegetables. So meanwhile, I'm just going to go on with my life. And then eventually I started having intense heart palpitations. And my heart rate would just skyrocket. I was at rest. It would be 130, 140, 150 beats per minute, just sitting there. And that's when I thought, okay, maybe I'll go have this checked out. And I went to see my primary care doctor, and she did some routine lab work. And my thyroid stimulating hormone came back at basically 0. I was extremely hyperthyroid. My metabolism was so revved up. And she said, how are you feeling? And I said, I feel great. I'm feeling great. And she looked at me like, April, seriously. And I'm like, no, seriously, I feel really good. And of course, we all hope for that kind of energy to kind of produce and keep all of our plates spinning. And so she redid the blood work, and it came back again, TSH, near 0. And it wasn't long after that that I realized, actually, I'm a mess. I had extreme anxiety. I couldn't sleep. My body pain was escalating. And what had happened was I had allowed my system to become so overstimulated, and I couldn't even tell. So, and that's within the work I do. And so I wanted to give you that example to show you that you're not alone. If you are realizing like, hey, I haven't really been paying attention to myself, or I didn't think about those signs or symptoms, that it's very easy to have happen. So I'm hoping to shed light for you today on a few things to help you understand your body better. And I already told you who I am. The why behind the mission. Again, all of us as women, we have so much to offer, and it is so easy for us to push through and kind of ignore ourselves. And so I'm very passionate about not normalizing exhaustion, okay? It's important that we learn to reconnect with ourselves and not disconnect from our bodies. Again, we tend to push through symptoms. Anyone, you don't have to raise your hand, but think, do I push through symptoms? Am I that one who ignores maybe my body pain, my anxiety, my fatigue? When we do that, we tend to lead from depletion. And that, again, becomes normal. I like to use the analogy of the frog in boiling water. And you've heard about the frog in boiling water. They don't know that they're almost dead until the water is that hot. And the whole time, the water's been rising, the temperature's been rising, and they didn't jump out of the pot. Instead, we can learn to empower ourselves to listen within and then lead from strength and feeling nice and rejuvenated. In this process, it also helps to understand that we are whole beings. We are unique beings. Every single one of us has a different set of personalities, a different history that we bring to the table, a different family history of health. And it's important to take that into consideration and also know that our bodies are fully integrated too. And one thing I love about Chinese medicine is it really demonstrates how our organs are not separated from one another. That in order to support our digestive system, it's important that we support other organ systems, for example. And Chinese medicine gives us such a great opportunity to realize that biologically and emotionally and spiritually we are connected as well. That it's important not to separate those out from one another. Let me peek, excuse me. And that's when our symptoms become communication. They're communication within the body. We often think about the nervous system as a way that the body communicates. And you know what's fascinating is the fascia. Anyone familiar with fascia? It's kind of, again, trending. We're starting to understand the fascial network in the body. It's that white stretchy stuff when you eat chicken that surrounds all of our tissues. And that's another communication system in the body. I think it's why acupuncture works really well. When you insert an acupuncture needle into the system, the fascia, the fibroblasts stretch. And in between those fibroblast cells are synapses, similar to the nervous system. When we learn to listen to those symptoms, again, it translates into power as leaders and as businesswomen, and also in our home lives. If you take a look at this chart over here, it does speak to what I was just mentioning about how the organ systems are related. It's a little cut, for some reason, it's fine. Oh, wood. I was supposed to say wood, not woo, okay? Wood, fire, not fur. Fire, earth, metal, and water. Those represent what we call the 5 elements. And in actuality, the wood, which represents the liver, we say that's the mother of fire. Okay, so the wood organ system, which is the liver, is actually the mother of heart. And heart is the mother of spleen, which in Chinese medicine, spleen is your chief digestive organ. And then earth is the mother of metal, which is represented by lungs. And then lungs is the mother of kidneys, water. And the kidneys is the mother of wood. And that's important to understand that dynamic because we start to see how all the organs support one another. And what makes this so fun is that then we can associate each emotion with different organ systems as well. So when you look at the wood element, which is liver, when it's out of balance, you might experience anger or depression. Anger and depression are 2 sides of the same coin. And sensory-wise, the liver is associated with your eyes. This time of year, a lot of people are experiencing allergies and itchy eyes, which could be a sign that you don't have enough what we call liver blood. And so if that is you, eat some beef, or beets too. That would be helpful. But it's also fun and interesting to see, if you look at those arrows, this is what we call the insulting pattern. If you again look at wood and liver, for a moment, when we're going to break down some of these organs a little bit more deeply, but the liver, as you're going to find out, is in charge of coursing the emotions. It rules the emotions. It's in charge of coursing the body's energy. We call it qi throughout the body. And when we have stress and unfulfilled desire, that qi becomes stuck and it overacts on the digestive system. Do you see the arrow going to the earth? And that's where we get a lot of digestive symptoms like acid reflux, gas or bloating after eating, and so on. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next slide. Kidneys. When I talk about these organs, oftentimes I use air quotes when I say kidneys because it does not directly correlate with kidneys in Western medicine that we typically think of. We think about kidneys as our root source of qi, energy, vigor for life. And when we have sort of been using fear-based model in our lives. It depletes the kidney qi. And also when our kidneys get tired, it creates fear and anxiety. So you can start to see how it's a bit of a snowball effect. And when we're used to burning the candle at both ends, some of you may be familiar with that phenomenon of burning candle at both ends just to make sure all those plates are spinning. That really makes our root level energy tired. And when we have that kidney qi deficiency, you might notice symptoms like lower back pain, okay? So a lot of times we think, oh, my lower back hurts. What did I do? Maybe I threw it out at the gym. Maybe I sat too long in the car. I need to go see the chiropractor, which could be helpful. But you might not think, I might be overtired. I might be actually overtired. We say the kidneys rule the bones and the spine. So when we have a really good, strong sense of our root level energy, it's easier for us to stand up tall, and we feel the strength in our spine and in our bones. I didn't write it on there, but also the kidneys rule the brain. So a lot of foggy thinking can come from kidney qi deficiency as well. And you can see when we think about leadership as women in business, that when we are feeling this tired, we might notice we have less stamina and less confidence is how that could manifest. So when we repair the kidney energy, first we want to recognize, hey, this looks as a pattern that I'm starting to recognize in myself. Once we can see that was a problem for me, by the way, with my thyroid story, when I became hyperthyroid, I was super kidney qi deficient, okay? So once I recognized, oh, it's important that I protect my kidney energy, and I started realizing restoration actually builds resilience. So in that yin-yang symbol that I had you look at the beginning of my presentation, you'll notice the black, which represents the yin, feeds the yang energy, and the yang feeds the yin energy. You can't have one without the other, and they are dependent on one another to keep the body nice and balanced. Of course, you want to protect your sleep. Your sleep is obviously very important for restoration and speaks more to nourishing the kidney yin energy. And then dietarily, we can help rebuild the kidneys by eating warm foods. And now that we're moving into spring, it's important to eat with the seasons, but just having come off of winter, it was important to try to, maybe not the best time to eat salad, but a better time to eat soups and congis and stir fries. And bone broth in and of itself, super helpful to nourish, literally nourishes the marrow, which is part of the kidney organ system as well. And the black beans, lentils, root level vegetables, or root vegetables in a crock pot would be really helpful. So there are flavors associated with each organ system as well. If you are craving salt, it's very, very likely that you are deficient in your kidney energy. And so that's when it's important to reach for some sea salt, get some minerals in there. Coffee as fuel. Is that familiar for anyone? Coffee, it's interesting, each food that we put in our body has a nature associated with it. And so with the coffee and the kidneys, it's not necessarily the caffeine. A lot of us associate coffee with caffeine. But it's the nature of that kidney bean. It's very hot-natured. And so if you're kidney deficient and you take in a lot of coffee, you're actually going to be diminishing your kidney yin energy even more because it's so hot. So it's literally going to consume your body fluids and give you symptoms like hot flashes, anxiety, things that go up in the body. Insomnia would be a big one. You might feel extra dry, extra thirsty. It's not from caffeine, it's from the coffee bean. So you can have an ice cold decaf coffee and it will definitely cause an imbalance here in your kidney energy. So consider something like green tea, which is cooling. Oh, it helps to take a big deep breath several times throughout the day. I'm going to do it right now. A nice rejuvenating breath and also some gentle stretching. You know, we often think, oh, to exercise, it's important I go for a run or do that high intensity workout class at the gym. But sometimes you just need a little bit of stretching, especially in the wintertime, restorative yoga. And any way that you can give yourself a chance to relax your nervous system, like acupuncture is a great way. I just know all about acupuncture, so I'm going to think about that. But also just taking a bath and taking a nice little walk through nature could be helpful as well. Spleen qi deficiency. The spleen in Western medicine has absolutely nothing to do with the digestive system, but in Chinese medicine, it's your chief digestive organ. And when we start having digestive problems like excess gas or bloating after eating, diarrhea, acid reflux, maybe we feel tired after we eat, or we simply have a poor appetite, we can blame that on spleen qi deficiency. And that's when the earth element becomes weakened. The earth element is nourished by self-love. And a lot of people often will say to me, you know, I want to lose weight. And I say, well, how's your self-love? Because at the very, very root of having a strong digestive system and having a strong metabolism is having that strong sense of self-love and self-worth. And this is another really strong example how our emotions can play directly into our physiological health. Often, any worriers out there, overthinkers? I'm sure just a few of us, yes, just a few of us, because those emotions directly will weaken the earth element and cause digestive problems. But just before this, we were talking about the kidneys. And in starting to see how the different organs are related, when we have kidney qi deficiency, and we think about the kidneys being like the fire underneath the cauldron. If you think about a gas stove, and you think about the pot over the pot is your digestive system, and the fire underneath it is your kidneys. So that's one way you can start to see the poor earth element, the digestion gets attacked in several ways. If we're overtired, we lose the fire to cook the food, to actually take in nourishment from the food we eat. And then, as you're going to see at the next slide, we'll talk about liver. We're going to talk about another way how the earth element takes a hit. Can you all see this better than me? Can you see that can you see my full slide? Okay, great. So I mentioned bloating. Brain fog and self-doubt actually will show up in this pattern as well. And then leadership impact will actually lead to poor decision making, having trouble making decisions, and just feeling tired in general. I like that quote. Worry ensures energy that could be used to build your vision. A lot of us are vision oriented, or you wouldn't be sitting here, right? And it's so fun to have those dreams and have those visions, but we want to support ourselves underneath it so that we can actually see them come to fruition. Conversely, with salt cravings that represented kidneys, the earth element, when it's in depletion, actually represents sugar cravings. So if you're having sugar cravings, it's likely that your spleen qi is weak. And the reason why, sugar is immediately assimilated into the body through the salivary glands. It will immediately get into your bloodstream from there, and your brain needs a lot of glucose. And so it will make you crave sugar so that it can get some energy right away for the brain. So if you're having a weak digestive system and you're going to have trouble gaining nutrients from the food you eat, your body's going to have you crave sugar. Another common reason for sugar cravings is an overgrowth of candida. Candida is a naturally occurring fungus that we have in our digestive system. We do need it, but we don't need it to overgrow. And they love sugar. And they love anything fermented. One sip of wine with a candida overgrowth, and you're cooked. As my 15-year-old daughter would say, cooked. We get confused. It's interesting, the sweet flavor actually nourishes the the spleen energy. And so we get confused and we think, well, that sweet flavor is cookies and cakes and candies. But really, it's complex carbohydrates, things like sweet potato, rice, quinoa, oats, squashes. Those actually will strengthen your digestive system, so I encourage you to eat those if you're experiencing some of these symptoms. And maybe reach for that sweet potato before you reach for the brownie. Although I came across this amazing recipe of brownies with cacao powder, which your cacao powder actually helps a lot move the liver energy, which you'll find out will be helpful. And it's delicious, I tried it. I highly recommend it. And then further on, to help think about tools on how to not overthink, consider brain dumping in a journal. Maybe right before bed, if you're finding yourself ruminating at night, maybe write those thoughts down real quickly so you have a chance to get some good rest at night. And take some time to, in your schedule, actually schedule in what I call white time, like blank time, and then also schedule in time for making decisions. Liver qi stagnation. I mentioned earlier that the liver is in charge of coursing the qi throughout the body, and it also rules the emotions. And when we have a lot of stress and unfulfilled desire, we say it stagnates the liver qi. That qi actually becomes backed up in the system, and then that we feel stuck. And it's sort of like if you imagine being in traffic and you come into a traffic jam and you're stuck there in your car. You know that feeling you get on the inside of your body, like, really, how long am I going to sit here in this traffic jam? That's what the body feels like on the inside. And that's when we might experience frustration and anger. It's just not as obvious as the traffic jam a lot of times. A lot of times we're not living our lives in according to what we value the most. And so that translates into unfulfilled desire and stress, and then your body's energy literally backs up and becomes stuck. And if you remember one of my first slides in the diagram of the organ systems, I was showing you the insulting cycle. What happens when the wood energy, the liver, gets backed up is it overacts on the digestive system. So you start to see how the digestive system is either not getting support from the kidneys, it's directly being impacted by overthinking and overworrying, for example, or the liver will actually attack the digestive system. PMS, that's a big one. A lot of us with PMS, it's fascinating with the menstrual cycle. If you think about the 28 days or so cycle of the female menstrual cycle, the first half of your cycle is there for you to reflect and build your yin and build your blood, just like it's building up in the uterus, and to give you time to reflect on how can I nourish myself, okay? And what is PMS? PMS is when we didn't listen to the cues our body gave us in that first half of our cycle, and then the qi gets stuck, and then we get angry, and then we get irritable, and then people around us have problems. And you can extrapolate your menstrual cycle into even a lifetime cycle. I am now 50 years old, and so I'm transferring from the follicular phase into the luteal phase. And so each phase of our menstrual cycle is also representative of each phase in life. And so just keep that in mind when you're thinking about, what do I value? If you're a younger person, you might value something that's different than your coworker who might be a bit older like myself, and they're going to value something else. And when we don't live in accordance to our values, that's what we really actually get quite ill from that. So for leadership impact, we'll notice that we'll be irritable, and you'll notice you won't have that creativity you're hoping for. That's when the liver qi is not flowing. Ooh, what can we do? Let's read this quote. Unexpressed frustration becomes stagnation. Expressed emotions create clarity and forward movement. And a lot of times it's helpful to express your emotions to others, but mostly you want to express them to yourselves. Take the time to think, okay, why am I irritable? What need of mine is not getting met? Movement helps so much to move the qi. So taking a walk, even taking a big deep breath really helps move the qi. And dance, any kind of free movement, stretch, you name it, if it's movement, it's going to help move your qi. And then you can support the liver directly with hot honey lemon water first thing in the morning. I love recommending that in the first thing in the morning. If you are hesitant to give up your coffee yet, at least start with some hot honey lemon water to wake up your liver. Of course, we know the liver is also an important organ in detoxifying the body as well. And then you want to eat cruciferous vegetables. Those are so great. Those are things like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. Unless you have a food sensitivity to them, those are great at helping move the liver qi. So are leafy greens and dandelion. And if you don't spray your dandelions with poison, put those suckers in a tea. Those are really good for you. And then alcohol, we know, is directly toxic for the body in general, but it will cause more toxicity and heat in your liver. And processed foods, greasy meals, we know that. Spending time in nature is actually incredible. Are any of you familiar with grounding? Grounding is such an amazing thing for us because we are electromagnetic beings, and so is the earth. So when we stand on the earth without shoes on, and they have grounding mats, grounding sheets, all kinds of things, that's very rejuvenating for the liver specifically. And the sensory organ that's associated with your liver is your eyes. And as I mentioned, if you're having itchy eyes, you're going to want to, we say, nourish the liver blood. That's why I suggested red meat. If you like liver, that would be amazing. Or beets would be really good for you to eat in that situation. But sunshine. We get a lot of our vitamin D exposure by sunshine right through the eyes. And so sun gazing is another way to connect with the earth and connect to nourishing that liver. I don't mean look directly in the sun, but allow the sun in through your eyes while you're taking a walk or just standing there in the morning. It's pretty amazing. All right, you ready to stand up? Why don't you stand up a little bit? I'm excited to show you these exercises. Great. Have you heard of qigong? It's not as popular. Some of you may have heard of qigong. Qigong is a simple exercise where we use our mind, we call it our E, to move our qi, our energy. And I'm going to give you some simple exercises that you can do to get through each day or to rejuvenate yourself. So let's just stand comfortably. You can keep your eyes open or you can close your eyes. And let's take a few deep breaths. And go ahead and do another body scan like we did at the very beginning of this presentation. Notice where you may be storing some tension. Great. Now, ask yourself some questions. Do I have fear? Am I operating from a place of fear or anxiety? And a reminder, that's represented by the kidney organ. Am I feeling worry? Am I lacking trust in myself or others? This could be represented by the spleen, the digestive system. Or am I experiencing some sort of frustration, depression, anger? That's represented by the liver. And now open your eyes for me. And I'd like you to, I'm not going to do it because it'll be too loud, but rub your hands together. Yep. See if you can generate some heat in your hands. We're actually generating qi, actually generating some qi here. And we're going to use this to recharge ourselves. So for the kidneys, you know the kidneys are housed right here. You can take your both hands on either side and vigorously rub your kidneys. Vigorously rub your kidneys with both hands. And when I do this, I actually imagine my gas tank getting fuller and fuller. So actually get some qi in there and get it to move, fill it right up. Fill up those tanks. Then shake off your hands because inevitably we got some energy in there that we kind of want to get off. And it just gets recirculated and regenerated by the earth into positive energy. And then your knees, if your knees hurt, that's represented by the kidneys, so you could rub your hands together again. It could be your back, it could be your knees. If you have any body pain, rub over that area with your hands. Go ahead, find your spot. It could be your digestive system, could be your legs. Get in there, nourish those areas. Good, and then shake that off. This area right here, we call it Ming Men. That's the gate of vitality. When you warm that area, you're actually recharging your batteries. Digestive system. Same thing. What we're going to do actually is rub your hands together again, create that warmth and create that chi. Then we're going to move in a clockwise direction. And how you figure that out, take your pubic bone to be 12 noon and your breastbone to be 6 p.m. And we're going to rub in a clockwise direction on your stomach with both hands. And that's going to get that chi to move in your digestive system. Take a deep breath into that area too, a nice slow deep breath. Really move your diaphragm. Get the chi in that area. This is great for the digestive system, and shake that off. In Chinese medicine, we say that the spleen transforms food into energy. When we warm and support it, our body converts nourishment into productivity. And finally, let's move some liver chi. There's so many. Have you heard of those rebounders? Those little trampolines or those shaking plates? Those are a really good way to move the liver chi. Go ahead and take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Exhale. And we're going to take your fingertips, and rub the corner of your rib cage. Both sides, rub that area. Do any of you have trouble waking up, say, at 3 a.m.? Whoa, that's a lot of us. It's interesting, the Chinese clock, each 2 hours of the 24-hour period represents a different organ system. And when the chi flows through the body, the lungs wrap up the liver is the end of the cycle, how the chi flows, and the lungs started anew. And from 1 to 3 a.m. is your liver. So if you're waking up between 1 and 3, that means your liver is struggling, okay? And then if you're waking up right at 3, you actually don't have enough chi to connect right into the lung time, which is 3 to 5. And if you're waking up between 3 and 5 with your lungs, we didn't talk about lungs, but often you might have unresolved grief. So think about that. We can again see how our emotions are connected to our physical body. But with this qigong exercise in mind, if you are waking up between 1 and 3 or at 3 o'clock, what you can do is tap your lung point right underneath your clavicle. Okay, tap here, and then go back to your liver, tap, tap, tap. And switch. This is how you can connect those two. If you sleep better tonight, I want to hear from you, so I think it's going to happen. I have a feeling. Message me. When our liver chi is moving, we'll notice that it becomes easier to make some decisions, okay? And I meant to say at the beginning of this talk that I really wanted it to be interactive. So as we finish up this last exercise here, be thinking if you have any questions for me, I would love to take some questions. Okay, let's close our eyes. Place one hand on your heart, the other hand on your lower abdomen. And think of an intention. It can be an intention for this moment, an intention for the day, an intention for your business, an intention at home. Maybe it's an intention of how you'd like to move through your days, spinning your plates, how you want to feel on the inside as you are doing that. And take a nice deep breath, fill the lower abdomen, fill the heart space, and as you exhale, relax your shoulders. Notice, does your body feel any differently now than it did at the start of our session? And also know that you can take these tools with you throughout the rest of today and certainly throughout each and every day. Thank you so much. You can have a seat, and are there any questions or anything coming to mind that you would like to ask me? In the back, yes, dear? Oh, hey, girl, now I know who you are. Good to see you. Miss Erin.
Yes, thank you. This is wonderful. What if at times you feel like you have all of it?
I'm sorry, what if at times what?
What if you feel like you've got all of the symptoms from all of the body?
That is the perfect question. What if you feel like you have all of them, and likely you do? Likely you will be able to identify with lots of these symptoms and many more, because we only talked about 3 of the primary organ systems. And you start to really develop the understanding that they are not separate. If you were to go to see your Western medicine doctor, the way Western medicine is structured, you might notice there is a gastroenterologist for the GI tract, or there is a pulmonologist for your lungs, or a hepatologist for your liver. And so they often will not think about how all the organs are related. And this is where you become empowered. You definitely become empowered to recognize that your health is in your hands, which reminds me, I think I have a slide. Ooh, you are the heart of your leadership. That's good. You are the heart of your leadership. And when we care for our health, everything gets stronger. I think we've shown that pretty well. I did write this book called Save Your Life Now, Your Health is in Your Hands. And my passion is to help empower you to know that your health is indeed in your hands. And we start to see how all the different organs are connected, not only with one another, but our emotions, our environment, and our relationships. That's where we really can take control of our own health. That hopefully help you feel empowered to know that you have the power to change things. And when you recognize, like, gosh, I think I can relate to everything she just said. Plus, you might be having shortness of breath or asthma or allergies, which relates to the lungs, okay? You might be having some heart palpitations. Heart is related to joy. You start to see, okay, what are some patterns that I'm living in my life that I can change? Where can I elicit some changes in my life, take care of myself, so that I can indeed feel better? Then that gives you the power. I hope that answers, Erin. Did that help? Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes?
I was just wondering, what are some tips for if you feel like you have like a grief trap? Like you said, waking up between 3 and 5.
Waking between 3 and 5. I'm sorry. I wish you had a microphone.
So I was just wondering if you feel like you have like grief trapped or need to move through, and you wake up between 3 and 5. What are some tips?
Did you say you're feeling trapped?
Grief.
Grief. Okay. Grief, some tips for that. Recognize grief is a completely normal emotion. So it's important to recognize, okay, I'm feeling grief, and allow yourself to feel the grief, and then allow yourself to move past it. But sometimes we literally get stuck in the grief, and that then becomes pathology. And in that case, honestly, I would seek help from someone like myself, or at Healing Horizons, where we focus, at Healing Horizons Integrated Health Solutions, my business, I've been doing it for about 22 years. I created that business with the idea of understanding how this whole structure that I just explained, how everything is related. And so we have different practitioners there who work together as a team. We collaborate and integrate our care for your well-being. It helps to just go get some help, because there are different things we can do to just shift that energy. And sometimes it's counseling, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's an acupuncture appointment. Something we call homeopathy can be really helpful. So I encourage you to just go ahead and ask for help. That's where our team approach. And really, as women, we feel like I can do it on my own. I should be able to do it. I don't have time. I don't have time to go get acupuncture. I've got to feed the kids, and I've got to get to work. But just taking time for yourself to acknowledge that emotion can really be transformative in so many ways. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, dear, in the back.
You mentioned the spleen and how many emotions. My best friend had a boating accident and her spleen exploded,
Oh.
and so she doesn't have one. And so many of those things, like
Yes.
the insecurity or just not comfortable.
Yeah.
And we're the same age. I'm like, why?
This is interesting.
That was such an aha moment for me.
Great. Thank you for sharing. So the spleen in Western medicine has this role with the blood. And the Chinese, I think they actually mean spleen like pancreas. So it doesn't directly correlate with spleen in Western medicine. However, I would like to speak to any kind of trauma that happens in the system that can shock the trauma will show up in different places of your body. So all of us have a weak link in the chain, if you will. Like for me, for a long time, it's been my right hip. I'm like, okay, when my right hip hurts, I'm like, what's going on? What am I experiencing that's going to my hip? And it could be in your digestive system, it could be anywhere. So if you're like, wow, I'm feeling nervous for today, I'm gonna suddenly have diarrhea, that's definitely your digestive system. but it sounds like that's a traumatic event when your spleen explodes in a boat accident. That's pretty traumatic. And so sometimes our body holds on to those traumas on the cellular level. And again, there are ways to release that. And it often does begin with just self-awareness and think, well, it's just because my spleen exploded. Well, no. What can you do on a very holistic way to help support yourself? I have time for one more question. One more. Okay. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate you listening to me. I also started a new endeavor called Mother Nature's Doctors, an online platform where I'm offering online courses and some podcasts. I would love for you to check me out there as well. And again, thank you so much for having me. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you.